Hi, sir. Constitutional reforms are very important for UPSC.
Yes, constitutional reforms, exactly. Especially with regard to this colonial era, lots of legislations are there, right from Regulating Act 1773 to Government of India Act 1935. They're being asked by UPSC frequently regarding the features. Sometimes they shuffle the features of or maybe provisions of these acts. So that way they are very important.
But
Being
they are
asked.
too confusing too.
Too confusing, too confusing.
What will it do?
So yeah, here the solution is simple. Just go through the provisions of this. I mean, we must understand the process of the evolution of these constitutional reforms. Okay, from Regulating Act to Government of India Act 1935. Yes, in an order we go. How these things like being evolved. Okay, so that way just go for the provisions. Just go for these political, economic, or social, cultural developments. Caused by these legislations. That way it is easy to tackle. Let's solve some questions. We will go for that. Yes, constitutional reforms are very much important for our UPSC preliminary examination and mains also, because in prelims and mains, these questions being asked by UPSC, okay, related to the constitutional reforms during British Raj, okay, Regulating Act 1773 to Government of India Act 1935, later Independence Act. So see what all things you have to check when you study these constitutional reforms for UPSC. One thing is, I would say that this order is very important. I mean, you must understand what is that the order or the timeline or the chronology of this evolution of these, constitutional reforms, right from Regulating Act 1773, administrative evolution or legislative evolution, constitutional evolution. You see, evolution of these things, yes, that order you must understand very nicely. See, one thing is that this act is a response to, maybe certain acts are response to certain events of the history. For example, Act of Good Governance or this Government of India Act 1858, that was response to Indian, Sepoy mutiny, or the first great Indian, Sepoy mutiny or revolt. Okay. Similar way, let us see that there is 1919 Act is there. There is Government of India Act 1919, that is in response to this World War I. Okay, so that is the way, or this Government of India Act 1935 responses to the Simon Commission, Nehru Report, and this CDM, etc. So this is the way you must understand whether they are connected with a certain political activities, events, or due to political pressure, due to administrative, issues. So how this act is evolved, what is the origin behind, what is the event behind origin of those constitutional reforms, and key introductions of these acts. For example, you must know All India Federation, that is a central feature of this Government of India Act 1935. Provincial autonomy is a central feature of Government of India Act 1935. Then this, provincial diarchy was a feature of this Government of India Act 1990. Then similar way, introduction of separate electorate for Indian Muslims, that was a feature of this 1909 Council Act. Okay, similar way, you must know, yes, what are these central provisions or key features of this, yes, key features of these various legislations, from 1773, that is important. And some acts are connected with the committees and commissions and the reports. Some acts are result of certain committees or commissions and the report submission. Okay, for example, yes, there is Government of India Act 1935, responses to this Nehru report, responses to this Simon Commission report. Okay, so that is something, yeah, how these acts are connected with the certain committees, commissions, reports, that's important for you. Then see how the political parties, see these various particular legislations. Okay, responses of political parties towards this, legislation. For example, All India Muslim League, Indian National Congress, Communist Party of India, Indian Liberal Federation, these different political parties, how they responded to various legislations in India during British Raj. Comparisons are important. The provincial features, central features, or maybe, the various features of these various acts and compared with each other. For example, Government of India Act 1919 compared with the Government of India Act 1935. The central features and provincial features. So comparison, that is important. The legacy is important. The structural part of the current constitution is borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. So what I said is that from these aspects, constitutional reforms must be studied for your exams, both prelims and mains, I am saying. Coming to the question, let's see. Consider the following statements with respect to Regulating Act 1773. Supreme Court of Justice was established at Delhi to give justice to Europeans, their employees, and citizens of Calcutta. First of all, you must understand that in the initial stage of this British East India Company's rule, their center of operation was not in Delhi, it was in Calcutta. And also, under this act, there is a provision for establishment of Supreme Court of Calcutta or at Calcutta, not in Delhi. Okay, if you know that basic thing, that is common sense, this is answerable. Okay, and see, this is also because of huge responses, huge protest from this India and abroad. The company is in financial crisis. There is huge complaints about this company officials, their illegal private trade, and this bribery, corruptions, and the maladministration. So there is a protest from India and from abroad, or from London also. When they do something, it is not only for Europeans, it is also for Indians. This is the first ever British legislative intervention into Indian affairs through the company. So you see that can be easily eliminated. In matters of war and peace, Governor General could superintend the presidencies of Bombay and Madras. So of course there is no decentralization. All these legislations were part of centralization. This is just beginning of centralization. If this common sense is applied, you could see that there is no autonomy, complete autonomy to this Bombay and Madras. Yes, they are under, or they are under this, Governor General of this Calcutta. Then see, Governor General was given a veto power over the decision of the council. If you know the one of the limitations of this Regulating Act 1773, this is answerable. One of the biggest limitation of this Regulating Act 1773 is, yes, Governor General and the council together, they pass this legislation based on majority vote. The problem here is, yes, Governor General and his four-member executive council, that is a central body, they take decisions. Decisions are passed on majority voting. Here the problem is that Governor General is not having a veto power. So this biggest problem was addressed in the Amendment Act, later Act, that's in Pitt's India Act. So you see that Governor General was not given a veto power. In fact, the decisions are out, or decisions are made based on majority voting. Council, there is a Governor General and his, four-member council. So you see, the biggest problem was, Governor General is not having a veto power. That was the limitation of this Regulating Act 1773. So in that sense, the correct one, I will go for this, two only. See, consider following with respect to constitutional developments during this British Raj. Another question. So here you see, yes, Charter Act 1793 laid the foundation of government by written laws, regulations in contrary to the personal rule of the past rulers. Okay. Then see, regulating at it's about the Charter Act 1793. The Act of 1813 empowered the Governor General to legislate for whole of these British territories in India. Then see, Regulating Act 1733 accounted for this codification of laws in India. So we know that there is one act which is called the Charter Act 1833. This act is very crucial because this act is known for codification of laws in India. This act is known for centralization of administration here. So according to this act, Governor General of India post was created. Till then it was Governor General of Bengal. And the first Governor General of India, William Bentinck, was appointed. And under him, a law commission was appointed, and chairman was Macaulay, and the codification of law process was, duly taken care of. So this all connected, centralization of administration, or the so-called, codification of the laws, all are credited with the Charter Act 1833. So what I am saying is that when you go for constitutional reforms, it is very much important to understand what are the central features, key features or provisions of each act. If you know that basic thing, most of these questions are answerable. Okay. So I am eliminating second and the third statements. I will come up with this, yeah, they are asking for not correct. So my answer would be, that is 2 and 3. Okay. Then moving on to the next one. In the context of Charter Act 1833, which of the following not correct? They are asking for not correct one. In 1833, Governor General of Bengal became Governor General of India. 1833, Governor General of Bengal became Governor General of India. That is absolutely true, 100%. Yes, I agree. I agree. Then Board of Control Court of Directors abolished in this Charter Act 1833. No, this has happened, only in this Government of India Act, that is 1858. This is after the Sepoy Mutiny. This dual administration is abolished, and you see that the Secretary of the State, that post is created with an advisory council. So this is not in 1833. Indian possessions of the company were to be held in trust of the British Crown. That is fine with this 1833 Act. Act was passed during this governor generalship of William Bentinck. That is also fine. So here, not correct one is, I will say Board of Control, Court of Directors that abolished in this Government of India Act 1858. Okay. Which of the following statements correct regarding Indian Council Act 1909? So council reforms are very much important. So many questions are, being compared and asked, See, I mean, the provisions are compared and being asked in the questions. Separate electorates were expanded to include depressed classes along with the Muslims. Separate electorates were expanded to include depressed classes along with the Muslims. In the provincial councils, non-official majority was introduced. The act introduced diarchy in the provinces. The question is, what are the central provisions of these features of these council reforms 1909? So here you see separate electorates were expanded to include depressed classes along with the Muslims. That is wrong. This is, yeah, for the first time. For the first time, the separate electorate is introduced, and that is for Indian Muslims, not depressed classes. That is later on. Okay, because you just try to understand that, yes, in all the roundtable conferences, Ambedkar represented depressed classes, and in all roundtable conferences, he demanded for separate electorate for depressed classes of India. So here, 1909, there is no separate electorate for depressed classes. 1909, yes, for the first time, yes, British by law, yes, they created a provision for the separate electorate for Indian Muslims only. Okay. In the provincial councils, non-official majority was introduced. That is true regarding 1909 reforms. Council reforms is, it is all about the expansion of the councils, modification of the councils, and more Indian participation and representation in the councils as non-official majority. Okay, so that statement is fine. Act introduced diarchy in the provinces. No, provincial diarchy that was introduced in this 1919 Act, or maybe Montague-Chelmsford reforms, Government of India Act 1919 only. Okay. Got it? Okay, so this is wrong, and first one is wrong, and only correct one is, second statement, two only. Moving on to the next one. See, with respect to Act of 1833, which of the following are correct? Act protected native Indians from discrimination for employment in the company. Act banned slavery in India. Act made East India Company a mere political body. Act began the course of decentralization. See, there is no course of decentralization. Please try to understand that this is centralization is completed. That started by Regulating Act 1773 and completed by this, 1833 Act. So this is not decentralization, this is centralization. This act, facilitated centralization. Then see, Act made East India Company a mere political body. That is true. It's what is called this company's commercial monopoly is entered. It to become a political body. So that is correct regarding this 1833 Act. Then see, Act banned slavery in India, but it is much later only, slavery is banned in India. The Act protected the native Indians from discrimination. That is true. Act protected native Indians from discrimination for employment in the company. That is only in the written laws, but in practice it was not the same thing. So I will go for first one is correct, and third one is correct, and second and fourth are wrong statements. So I will go for 1 and 3 only. Okay. Yeah, just look into this 19 this Indian Council reforms. This is Morley-Minto reforms. Main features are like this: expansion of legislative councils, both the center and provinces. Official majority maintained in the center, non-official majority in the provinces. Increased functions of legislative councils in terms of budget discussion, matters of public interest. Communal representation introduced for the first time. Separate electorate for Muslims awarded for the first time. Association of Indians with Viceroy's Executive Council for the first time. Satyendra Prasad Sinha. Okay. Then see, there is Government of India Act 1919. I don't know, some slides, some portions are, not visible. But anyway, coming to 1919 reforms, please try to understand. There is, this so-called the provincial diarchy is introduced. Provincial diarchy means, you see, provincial subjects are split into transferred subjects, reserved subjects. Transferred subject under these elected Indian ministers, they are answerable to legislature. Reserved subjects under this, like a provincial governor and his council, they are not answerable to legislature. So that such a defective system. I mean, elected Indian ministers, they are answerable to legislature. They have only, I mean, they are head of the expenditure departments, and they don't have authority. They don't have authority over the funding also. See, full authority goes to this, governor and his council. So such a dual administration or this diarchy was a defective system. Okay, this separate electorate is expanded. Okay, so those things are there. Yeah, there is central bicameralism. These are some features of this particular act. Which act you know? That is 1919 Act. There is a question Montague Chelmsford proposals were related to. You know, Morley window reforms were related to Indian Council Act 1909. Then Montague Chelmsford proposals are related to this, you know, constitutional reforms, eventually leading to passage of yes, Government of India Act 1919. Similar way, 1935. My dear friends, please go for the central provisions of the act. Understand the central provisions. Okay, what are the key features of these various acts? You know, that will save you in the exam. See, Simon Commission recommendations, the Nehru report, roundtable conference discussions. You know, the net result was this Government of India Act 1935. Okay, so there is a provision for All India Federation, never happened. Yes, there is federal list, provincial list, concurrent list, three division is happened. Yes, diarchy is introduced in the center, provincial diarchy is abolished, provincial autonomy is introduced. That means whoever these, you know, political parties contesting the elections and winning the majority vote, they can form own government. Then see, provincial bicameralism introduced. Yes, separate electorate introduced for SC and women. Then see extension of franchisee. Then this voting rights extended to, you know, different communities, different sections. There is establishment of federal court for settling disputes between center and provinces or between provinces. Then there is a provision for Reserve Bank of India. There is a provision for separate constitution for Burma or separation of Burma. Okay, these are various features of these are, and there is abolition of this Indian Council. These are various features of this Government of India Act 1935, but it is not satisfactory for national political leadership. Yes, no guarantee of individual liberties, no legislature to amend the constitution. Yes, no power for legislature to amend constitution. Diarchy is defective, which is introduced in center now. Viceroy and the governor too powerful, so there is no meaning of elected Indian ministers. Then communal electorate is not abolished but extended. These are some problems with this 1935 Act. Burma India were separated under Government of India Act 1919, which is wrong. It is under 1935 Act. Government of India Act 1935 provided for abolition of Indian Council. That is absolutely true. The Government of India Act 1935 granted limited franchise to Indian women. That is also true. They're asking for the correct one. So yeah, I will go for the second one. Okay, I will go for second. I will go for this, you know, like three. So two and three. Yeah. Now there is a question: principal features of Government of India Act 1919. Introduction of diarchy in the executive government of the provinces. Introduction of separate communal electorate for Muslims. Devolution of legislative authority by center to the provinces. So you see that what is something very you know, principal features of Government of India Act 1919. Yes, you can easily eliminate this one. Introduction of separate communal electorate for Muslims, obviously. Yes, that we discussed. This is a feature of Indian Council Act 1909. So here, yeah, introduction of diarchy in the executive government of the provinces, fine. Second is not a feature, third is a feature, two and three. Okay. See, distribution of power between center and states in the Indian Constitution is based on the scheme provided in what? There is Morley window reforms, Montague Chelmsford reforms, Government of India Act 1935, Indian Independence Act 1947. We will go for this Government of India Act 1935. Consider the following statements. Government of India Act 1935 provided for provincial autonomy, establishment of federal court, all India Federation at the center. Okay, all are fine. All are fine. Okay. Montague Chelmsford reforms formed the basis for this, you know, Government of India Act 1919. Then see, consider the following statements. Some of the main features of the Government of India Act 1935. Abolition of diarchy in governors' provinces. Yes, power of the governor to veto legislative action to legislate on their own. Abolition of principle of communal representation. So they are asking for what are the features of Government of India Act 1935. Okay, first one is fine. Second is fine. Then see, abolition of principle of communal representation. There is no such thing. Okay, there is no abolition of communal representation, even it is extended. Okay, but the first one is fine. There is introduction of this provincial diarchy. Sorry, provincial autonomy, abolition of the provincial diarchy, introduction of the provincial autonomy, power of the governors to veto legislative action and to legislate on their own. That is also too fine. Which of the following not a feature of Government of India Act 1935? Bicameral legislature fine, provincial autonomy fine, all India Federation fine. Diarchy to center and provinces is wrong. Diarchy introduced in center, but the provincial diarchy is abolished and provincial autonomy is introduced. Okay, so this is something I am telling you, my dear friends. Just go for maximum revisions and maximum solving of the questions, both PYQs and this, whatever the potential questions from the mock test, that will definitely save you for your, in these days for your upcoming prelims examination. So from now onwards, focus must be on solving maximum number of questions, daily 100 to 200 questions you solve and learn and revise from it. Okay, that's it. All the best. Thank you.
Gallant IAS, chasing your passion to ace.